Jason and Anne, thank you so much for having me at your offices here today. It's fantastic to be at Brunel, and I've got a couple of questions I've prepared for you earlier. And Anne, I wanted to start with you and ask, where do you feel is there a gap in the workforce in diversity hire specifically?
That's a good question, Tanya. And when we go and see our clients, it's pretty much the first one we start with. Because for us, it's important to identify those gaps and also the barriers that they're facing. Because what we're seeing specifically with our First Nation people is people need to understand how small that cohort is. Because we're literally sitting with 900,000 people that identify as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. I think flexibility is a big message that we're sending, specifically with First Nations. With our females in non-traditional roles, we look at our engineers, our female engineers. It's only 13% out of all our active or practicing engineers that identifies as female. If I had to give employers some advice, it is to listen to the motivators. You know, what motivates these candidates? What are they looking for in an employer? Whether that's development, whether that is a psychosocial safety. I know we had a bit of a chat about that before we started this conversation, but that's becoming buzzwords for the females. And, you know, a lot of the female engineers will say, I'm not a quota, I'm not a number. I know we've heard that before, and that's a big one for them. They want to feel as though they're being challenged.
I want to ask you, Jason, what do you believe is the biggest benefit of this diverse workforce?
When I think about that, I think about Australia. Australia is such a diverse country. One of the major benefits that I've experienced working in a diverse workforce like Brunel is the opportunity to see things on a different view, to see some things on a different perspective, and also understand somebody else's culture. We're in a cultural country, and you can also relate to a different culture because you've got that education by working with somebody in a cultural background.
Well, just looking at the three of us, we each come from a different country, right?
Exactly, yes.
And maybe can you expand a little bit more on the interview process in general? I know that you do very tailored interviews versus some other places that have very specific questions and every candidate gets exactly the same question.
Our interview style is tailored specifically to our candidates. One of the reasons for doing that is to make sure we get a lot of information from our candidates to make sure that they're comfortable to express themselves. For example, we need to make sure that if we have our neurodivergent candidates, they're more comfortable with engaging with us. What would make them comfortable in the sense of whether they would like to have a phone interview, or would like to have a face-to-face interview, or maybe they would like to have a support person as well.
Well, I'm, for one, very excited about Brunel's approach, and I can't wait to see what you are going to do next. Thank you so much for answering all those pop questions, and you just had them ready to go. I really appreciate it. It was really great.
Thank you so much for having us. Thanks, Tanya.